Hello again, everyone. Deflect here, Firm but Fair Gaming. Came to bring you a new video. I've done the tanks, I've done the healers. We're going to go through the DPS. This will be the Melee DPS tier list Season 4. And as always, how do I make the decisions? Well, a lot of it comes down to different Raider score, how they were competing in each season. You can do that just by sectioning out the melee DPS. You can see what they were doing season 3. This is popularity season 2 and season 1. You can filter that on 20s and above if you like, or if you can go higher if you want. I also did it with the tier set. Now, most of them have season 3 still. Unholy is season 3, DH is season 3, Feral season 3, Ret Pally season 3, all the rogue specs are season 3, and Enhancement Shaman is season 3. Season 2 include Frost DK and Fury Warrior, and season 1 is Arms Warrior, Windwalker, and Survival Hunter. So it's interesting to see, and based on these, I'm going to go through and give my predictions for season 4. Now, there is going to be a little bit more into play into that. So that's the tier sets. You can see how each max DPS is doing. This is going to be for Mythic Plus and not include rating. As you can see, a lot of the keys are just done by range right now. There's a ton of range, but I wanted to show what they will, what my predictions will be. And Crit Cakes makes it in on a 32 there. So going at the start, well, like there's gonna be no surprise. Like this is obviously gonna be S tier. Nothing is changing. They're only gonna get better. The Lego they're gonna have for season 4. They're a great spec. They have great utility. They still bring bop or can bring bop. They have a cleanse. They have a sacrifice, bubble. It's going to be a great spec, and they're just trucking the damage. The 1 minute cooldown burst window is just so good for them. But yeah, they will continue to be S tier throughout the next season for sure. Havoc though, Havoc was a tough spot for me because Vengeance is doing so well. And if you watch my tank video, I think Vengeance is still going to do great, but I think it's going to actually come down slightly and not be first overall. But I do believe Havoc is still going to be for a melee DPS. It's going to be bottom S tier. It was going to be high A or bottom S. I think it's still going to do a ton of damage. I do think a lot of the Havoc players who aren't like true Havoc players who were just playing because they were meta might pick at other specs through season 4. So I think it's going to fall off a little bit. But I do think it's going to do very, very well still. Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Shaman is a tricky one. They're a sleeper one. The problem with Enhancement Shaman is they're very squishy, but they do a ton of damage. Like they crank damage. And because of that, and because of what they bring the shortest kick in the game. I think they're gonna be A tier again. They still do really, really well. They're getting this tier set. And if you go into the spec leaderboard, Enhancement Shaman, they're cranking out 31s and 30s for the top player. And I only look at the top players because, the top bunch anyway. Because not a lot of people play each spec, a lot go with the meta. So top end players usually go with the meta, but there is always some like diehards that love playing their specs. Which is why you'll see one person like up here doing 31s, where other players who would be doing 31s as an enhancement shaman are probably playing Demon Hunter or Range or Shadow Priest or something like that. So I think it's gonna be A tier for that. Feral Druid. Feral Druid isn't awful. Like it's still, again, they're still doing 30s. It's just there's next season, I think it's going to be diminished because if you are Druid, you're probably playing Bear, you're probably playing Resto, you're probably playing Boomkin. Like Feral is your last pick out of the Boom or out of the Druid specs. It's just not quite there. Nobody goes in and says, "Ooh, we need a Feral." it's there are some very good Feral players, and it's not terrible. It just I don't think it's there. Survival Hunter got the tier 1 set, so Season 1 Survival Hunter set. They were doing very like very good. They were still doing 25s. You needed some help for some other classes. The like you always go with Shadow Priest because Shadow Priest is doing really well. So they were down there a little bit, but Survival Hunter does do good damage. They still do good damage. They're obviously not going to be A tier by any means, but they should like they're still a good spec to play. They still do a lot of damage. They are squishy though, so that comes with another problem because all hunters are a little bit squishy. I just don't know whether it's going to be ahead or behind Feral. We're gonna leave it behind Feral for now. Might change that later. Outlaw Rogue. Outlaw Rogue Season 3 is cranking. They are doing crazy damage. I believe they're the top ones on the list here. DPS ranking, the top one for Mythic Plus Dungeons is Outlaw Rogue. They are phenomenal. You know, you have your AoE blinds, you got all the stuns, you have all the rogue stuff you can do. They are very, very good, and they will continue to be good throughout the next tier, leaving them up in the S tier. Windwalker. Windwalker Season 1. Here's the thing. Windwalker is it's a good spec. It's got some nuances. It's got a little bit. It's very good Mythic plus burst. If this had to include raid, obviously it would be a lot lower. But I don't know. I'm actually playing monk this season. Season 4, I'm gonna basically be just maining monk. So I will be playing Windwalker. And I think it's going to do season 1 it was good though. Like season 1 it had some good damage there. Like it was good. Like it was 9% for Windwalker, which is huge. That means it was doing some crazy damage. But I do think with everyone else getting their best tier set, and Windwalkers are always really good off the first season because they fall off a bit because of the way verse is, but they've kind of fixed that a little bit. Not crazy amount, but it's high B, low A. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it high B. If I fill up the A's, then I'm just going to I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it high B. And then I might move it up to low A. I'm unsure yet. we'll play this one by ear. Assassin Rogue. Well, Sin Rogue came out season 3 pumping. Unfortunately, Sin Rogue coming out of season 3 is kind of in the shitter. So it went through some nerfs at the beginning. As you can see by this, it's one of the lowest DPS in dungeons. um, which is weird because subtlety's down here too, but when you actually go to the rankings, subtlety is actually really not that bad. But Sin Rogue, it just isn't. I don't think it's gonna cut it. Like top Sin Rogue isn't doing a 31 yet, and it's only got 2 30s, whereas top sub is doing 31s. So there's a little bit of degree there. I'm gonna say it's low B where it's gonna sit. It's not gonna get any better, I don't think, for the last season. If they undid the nerf, then I would move it up, but I don't foresee them doing that. Outlaw's just cranking too much for people to really not play Outlaw. Fury Warrior. Fury Warrior also got season 2 tier set. Sorry, well, it's one of the ones that got season 2 tier set. It was good in season 2. There's nothing wrong with it in season 2. It was just a good spec season 2. I think it's continued to be a good spec. I think that it's going to do well. It's going to be low A. It should kind of be like an A minus here. I think it's going to be ahead of Windwalker. The ease, like it's a little ease play. It's got less, I think, buttons than Windwalker to really do max damage. You do still have to hit them correctly, but I think it will do well. The only downfall to Fury Warriors, it can't deal with some of the affixes, so that does hinder it a bit. That's why I'm putting it low A. And the next it's kind of a tough choice for some of these. Unholy DK. Unholy DK is gonna have the legendary, which really helps. Like it helps, and you can crank on Unholy DK. I know it doesn't like seem like they're doing crazy amounts. They're doing some 31s, mostly 30s. They're They are pretty good. Like, they are good for sure. I believe they're gonna be ahead of Fury Warrior, but they're gonna be less than Enhanced Shaman. DKs are still DKs. Like, they do DK things with their AMS. They can negate some of the affixes, or not affixes, but some of the mechanics in dungeons, which makes it nice. AMZ kind of loses out. It really doesn't do shit anymore, but that is what it is. But I think there'll be a very good spec for the next upcoming season for sure. Frost DK. Frost DK. There was two builds when I was playing Frost DK. The breath build, which was shit because fuck, if your tank didn't know how to pull that, it was you just damage dropped off. And the obliterate build, which is basically spamming obliterates, which is kind of fun, but it can get repetitive pretty quick. For sure, it's like the easiest rotation in the game. It might rival BM Hunter for easiest rotation. I don't think it's going to make up enough ground. I think it's going to still stick behind. One, because most people will probably be playing Unholy. And two, I think these next classes will beat it in damage. I just don't think it's going to pump very much. It does on here, gets higher than Feral, but I don't think it's going to be as great. Some of these other ones might surpass it. Definitely for the next upcoming season. So Frost is marginally ahead of Assassination Rogue. Sub Rogue. Sub Rogue. Well, here's the thing. Sub Rogue probably could be higher, but Sub Rogue, more people are playing Outlaw. That's just it. Sub Rogue has probably the easiest rotation for AoE damage outside your cooldown. Just spam two buttons. But Sub Rogue's single target is up there, which does add a level of difficulty to it, but it's still not too bad and pretty good to do damage with. I don't know if it's gonna beat out Fury for the next season though. I don't know. Unholy's doing like 31s. I think Sub's falling behind because more people are playing Outlaw. I think that's gonna be the same case. I think it's gonna be a good spec. I think it's gonna do good damage, but I think it is going to fall behind. Definitely because Outlaw's cranking so much that just less people will be playing it, which will equal less Raider IO score, which will then put the class down a little bit. Not that they can't be very good, but when you have a good spec out there like Outlaw cranking, it's going to be up there. Arms Warrior. This is going to be the controversial pick. I know it already. I'm going to get harped on for where I'm going to put this. Arms Warrior Season 1. So, Season 1 Arms, they were still behind Fury. They had some okay stuff done, but they were still behind Fury. Are they going to be the best spec for season, like with their tier set from Season 1? Kirk Cake still demolishes. He's so good at it, but he was number one Season 1, but if you look Season 1, 26, we'll call it all 27s, 226s. But you go against, and that's Crit Cake's I think the best one of the best warriors in the game for sure. And you go against Fury, which was Season 1, they were one behind, and Fury's tier set they got is Season 2. So I think both are going to be very close. That's for sure. I think they're both going to be very close. I do give a slight edge to Fury. I'm going to give the edge to Fury. They're both going to be A tier, but I do give the slight edge to Fury over Arms. That's where I'm putting it. That's locked in now. This is what I think is going to happen for Season 4, DPS tier list for the melee side. I will be doing the range one. That will be coming out later this week. Now, if you do have any questions or any comments, as always, leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, deflect, Firm with Fair Gaming. We'll see you in the next video.